What if I told you that LeBron James has become one of the greatest basketball players of all time, all while having unhealthy feet? That's right. The 16-time All-Star, 4-time regular season MVP, and now 4-time NBA champion and 4-time NBA Finals MVP has been playing with these jacked up feet. And what if I told you that the cause of LeBron's unhealthy feet could be causing your feet to be in pain and to become unhealthy as well? Hi, I'm Sean Daniel of Foot Truth, and in this video, we're going to learn 1. Why LeBron James has unhealthy feet, 2. The most likely cause of his unhealthy feet, and 3. How you can avoid this detrimental cause that affects millions of basketball players around the world. Now, I, probably just like you, have been watching LeBron James for a long time and have continually been impressed with his premier basketball skills and freakish athleticism. Yet during all those years of watching LeBron James dominate and sometimes humiliate other NBA players, I had no idea he was playing with such distorted feet. On his left foot, his pinky toe and his big toe are both angled inward towards the middle of his foot, with his pinky toe angling upward and his big toe angling downward underneath his second toe. And on his right foot, his pinky toe and big toe are also angled inwards towards the middle of his foot, with his big toe again being angled downward underneath his second toe. But on this foot, his pinky toe isn't angled upward as drastically as on his left foot. Now, because all of LeBron's toes are squished together like this, his feet form a diamond shape going from the heel to the toes. But was LeBron James born with such contorted and squished toes that form this diamond foot shape? Or did his feet transform into this odd shape throughout his life? It is possible, but highly unlikely, that his feet looked like this when he was an infant before he spent time wearing shoes. But it is most likely that his feet were not born like this, but were instead like almost all other infants' feet, which have 4 distinct characteristics. Number 1, unlike LeBron's squished toes, an infant's feet has spread toes. Number 2, unlike LeBron's downwardly angled big toe and upwardly angled pinky toe, all of an infant's toes lay flat. Number 3, unlike LeBron's feet being widest at the ball of the foot, an infant's foot is widest at the ends of the toes. And finally, number 4, unlike LeBron's feet forming a diamond shape, an infant's foot forms a V shape going from the heel to the toes. This same foot shape that we see in infants can also be seen in people who have gone barefoot most or all their lives. These people's feet have the same 4 characteristics that we see in an infant's foot. 1, the toes are spread. 2, the toes lay flat. 3, the foot is widest at the ends of the toes. And finally, number 4, the foot forms a V shape going from the heel to the toes. And remember, the main difference between LeBron James and the infant or barefoot person is that LeBron has worn shoes most of his life, while the infant and barefoot person have not. And the shoes that LeBron has worn throughout most of his NBA career are his LeBron Nike basketball shoes. Now, I don't know what the shape of LeBron's feet were when he was an infant or when he began playing professional basketball in 2003, but it is most likely that when he was an infant and before he wore shoes, that he was like almost every other infant, and that he too had the 4 healthy foot characteristics of 1, spread toes, 2, toes that lay flat, 3, the foot being widest at the ends of the toes, and 4, the foot forming a V shape going from the heel to the toes. And had it not been for LeBron James spending years wearing, working out in, and playing basketball in shoes that have this diamond shape, which squish the toes together and angle the toes upward, his toes and his feet would not be distorted like they are now. I say this because barefoot and indigenous people put a high workload on their feet by walking, hiking, and running on rough and altering terrain, but yet their feet still have this healthy V shape which they had as infants. And the main difference between these barefoot people and LeBron James is that those barefoot people have never or rarely worn shoes, while LeBron has consistently worn narrow and diamond-shaped basketball shoes, like all the 18 versions of his LeBron Nikes. But even though LeBron James' feet may look hideous and they're probably not the same shape as they were when he was an infant, are his feet actually unhealthy? I mean, these are the feet of a 35-year-old man that can probably run a 4.4-second 40-yard dash, has a 40-inch vertical jump, and is still one of the best, if not the best, basketball player in the world. If LeBron's feet were truly unhealthy, how could he have completed 17 NBA seasons and scored over 34,000 points? Well, I honestly do not know. And it's astonishing to me that LeBron James has accomplished these magnificently rare feats with toes and feet that have been squished, manipulated, and transformed to such unnatural and contorted positions. All to the point that he should not be able to maximize his full ability, strength, and balance within his feet and his toes. Why? Because when your toes are squished together like LeBron's toes, and when you're wearing stiff, narrow, heel elevated, toe springed, and extremely cushioned shoes like LeBron's Nikes, and like almost every other basketball shoe on the market, here are some negative things that can occur. Restricted blood flow to the feet. The calf is put in a shortened and tightened position. There's less surface area on which to grip the ground and balance. It's harder for your big toe to push off the ground with full force. You're more susceptible to ankle sprains. And you can comfortably heel strike when you run and jump on the court, which is a totally unnatural movement that can damage your feet, ankles, and knees. And these negative things that I just listed can cause a host of problems and pains such as heel pain, arch pain, plantar fasciitis, plantar fasciosis, hammer toes, bunions, Taylor's bunions, tight calf muscles, knee pain, hip pain, and back pain. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go into detail on why all of these negative things and problems can occur as a result of wearing stiff, narrow, heel elevated, toe springed, and extremely cushioned shoes like LeBron's Nikes and like almost every other basketball shoe on the market. Such explanations will be reserved for future videos where I detail causes and solutions for specific foot problems. But in my full presentation on foot pain, I explained various causes and solutions for some of those foot problems, along with explaining the negative effects of wearing shoes like LeBron's Nikes. If you're interested, that video will be linked up above and in the description below. Now that we've gotten an overview of why LeBron James' feet are unhealthy and what is the cause of his unhealthy and jacked up feet, what can we do to ensure that we don't get foot pain from playing basketball and that our feet don't become distorted like LeBron's? That's easy. We just play basketball barefoot. That way our feet and toes won't be squished by these narrow and restrictive basketball shoes, but we can instead have a true and complete feel of the court while our feet and toes can fully bend, flex, spread, and move. I'm just kidding, you guys. That would be ridiculous. Now, although I have played basketball barefoot sometimes when I'm just messing around with my friends, that would be extremely tough and painful to do if we really played with 100% effort and were running, jumping, and cutting with full force. Instead, we could do one of two things. One, continue to wear our current and trusted basketball shoes, yes, even if they're LeBron's, but only wear them while we're playing basketball. And the rest of the time that we wear shoes, we don't wear narrow, stiff, heel elevated, toe springed, and extremely cushioned shoes like the LeBron's or like almost all other basketball shoes. But instead, we wear shoes that allow our feet and toes to naturally spread, flex, and function almost like we're barefoot. Unlike the LeBron Nike shoes, these barefoot type shoes are wide, flexible, flat from heel to toe, and are minimally cushioned. And if you really want to ensure that your toes are spread, you can also wear correct toe spreaders while you wear those healthy barefoot type shoes. Or option number two, we can do what I sometimes do, and this is depending upon the type of basketball court that I'm playing on, is play in one of those more barefoot, minimalistic, and wide shoes, but play in some that have good grip and traction on the bottom or outsole of the shoe. I've enjoyed playing in the Lems Primal 2 and Zero Prio. but I've only played on those on outdoor courts since most indoor courts have been closed for a while due to COVID-19. Eventually, after indoor basketball courts reopen, I plan on testing out and making a video about which, really, if any, barefoot/minimalistic shoes are good for basketball. But no matter which option you choose, the key thing to do is to minimize the amount of time we spend wearing narrow, stiff, heel-elevated, toe-springed, and extremely cushioned shoes like LeBron's Nikes. Because even I sometimes play basketball in my Nike Kobe's. But when I'm done playing basketball, I go back to wearing shoes that don't squish my toes and feet, but instead allow them to spread, flex, and function almost like I'm barefoot. And links to these healthy, wide, and barefoot type footwear brands, along with the toe spreaders that I mentioned, are in the description of this video. Well, today we learned a few things about LeBron James' feet, basketball shoes, and our own feet. Number one, we learned that LeBron James has some unhealthy and distorted feet with toes that are squished together and angled upward and even downward. Number two, we learned that the most likely cause of LeBron James' unhealthy diamond foot shape is from wearing diamond-shaped basketball shoes, like his LeBron Nikes, for many years. Number three, we learned that wearing narrow, stiff, heel-elevated, toe-springed, and extremely cushioned shoes like LeBron's Nikes can cause a multitude of foot pains, problems, and injuries. And finally, number four, we learned that to avoid these detrimental problems, we can do one of two things. Number one, wear those unhealthy basketball shoes like LeBron's Nikes, but only wear them when we're playing basketball. Then when we're finished playing basketball, we wear wide and minimalistic shoes that allow our feet and toes to function naturally. Or number two, we can not play basketball in traditional basketball shoes like LeBron's Nikes, but instead try playing in those wide and barefoot shoes that have good grip and traction on the bottom of the shoe. And if you want to learn more about causes of and solutions for foot pain, check out my full presentation, which is linked up above and in the description below. Again, I'm Sean Daniel of Foot Truth. Thank you for watching.